News.com on the WHOW mobile app. Plus, hear a best of Clinton sports broadcast Saturday mornings at 10. All brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick, Clinton Community YMCA, Covenant Animal Clinic, and Jason France, your State Farm insurance agent in Clinton.
The WHOW Morning Show is now video streamed live on the WHOW WEZC DeWitt DailyNews.com Facebook page and on the new WHOW TV YouTube channel. Watch morning show host Seth Lawrence interview guests live, as well as watch archived video podcasts of any interview you missed. Whether on Facebook or YouTube, we're providing two more ways that Central Illinois' local news station, WHOW, delivers compelling content for you.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin insurance agent in Clinton. Tony Harris is the DeWitt County CENCOM coordinator, our guest on the phone for today. Tony, welcome. Happy New Year, my friend. How are you?
Same to you, Seth. I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing well. Thank you for asking, and thanks for making time for us here for this morning. We appreciate that very much. And Tony, I know that we were catching up in the break, and CENCOM is in, I almost say dire need of 911 dispatchers. You've got a lot of openings. Talk to me about what's going on here.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Dire need. We have two openings currently. So we are looking for staff. We're looking for anyone that might be thinking of a new career in the public safety realm. We've put it out there on our Facebook site that we're taking applications, and we've not received any applications yet. So just wanted to talk about that briefly today and put that out there, that if anyone's thinking of a new career and they think that this might fit them, then they can get a hold of me or submit an application, and we'll definitely take a look at it.
Sure thing. Well, Tony, let's talk about that position. And folks out there may know that I did leave the radio station for a short time to try my hand at a 911 dispatcher. Obviously did not pan out, but nonetheless, it is worthy and worthwhile work. So talk to me a little bit about what it takes to be a 911 dispatcher.
Well, we don't require any kind of advanced training. We typically do most of the training, either outsource the training, or probably 90% of the training is done in-house here by our training staff. We currently have one dispatcher that's the training officer that takes care of all the training. He's currently certified to be a trainer, and he makes his way through all the aspects of the 911 dispatching with the new person doing the training. And there's a lot of it, as you know. It's a rewarding job. It's basically self-rewarding, because a lot of people, when they need 911, they don't really, because they're not seeing us on scene. They're calling for help, and we're kind of the behind the scenes heroes. So we don't get the thank yous like law enforcement or fire or EMS do, because we're kind of we're unseen. They hear us on the phone, but once we dispatch the call and emergency personnel arrives on scene, we're not there. So we're kind of forgotten about. So it's kind of a self-rewarding job. And I've been doing this job total of about 27 years, and I know that's just part of it. But with that being said, it has to be self-rewarding. You have to make it what it is, and you pat yourself on the back for a job well done. But it's, it can be stressful. There's times where, as there could be downtime where there's not a whole lot going on, but then a snap of the finger, there's, the 911 lines are lit up and ringing, 10 at a time, and we're having a hard time keeping up answering the calls. Just like this morning, we had a wreck out on Route 51 by the station there where you're at, and with cars driving by and seeing the accident, they pick up and call 911. We have to field all those calls. So 1 minute there's not a whole lot going on, the next minute the lines are lit up and you're having a hard time answering the calls. So it can be very stressful.
Yeah, no question. It certainly can be, and that's kind of part of the call is that if stressful environments are perhaps not your thing, perhaps this may not be the job for you, and that's okay, correct?
That is okay. Yeah, we have, just like yourself, we have a vast, I've had over the years of, different types of people that put their hand in it and decide they want to try it out, and some make it, some don't for various reasons. Some just tell me, this job's not for me. I can't handle this stress, and they choose to move on and go somewhere else. And that's the case that happens quite frequently. But back to training and what we do, like I said, we do most of the training in-house, 90% of it in-house. And we rely on my senior staff here to do some of the training. I told you we have one certified trainer that we use most of the time, but then we also send the new dispatcher out to the different shifts just to get an idea of what the different shifts are like and different people. Because in this job, as you know, it's not just answering a phone. There's the CAD system. There's probably 12 to 14 different software programs that's being used. CAD is the most prevalent. CAD, computer aided dispatch. It's a dispatching aid that helps you through a call. That's the most prevalent software program that's used. But then again, as you know, there are 10 or 12 others that's behind the scene that we use too, like EMD, emergency medical dispatch. That's another training piece that we have to do, and we do that remotely online, and that's just the field medical calls. So there has to be specialized training in law enforcement calls,
well,
fire calls, and medical calls.
I'm sorry, Tony, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
That's all right.
And it's not, and you talk about all these things that you're looking at. You've got, what is it, like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different screens you're kind of monitoring, but you're not using all those programs at the same time. That not to overwhelm people too much with the job description. You're not always using each one of those programs simultaneously. You may be on 1 or 2 or maybe 2 or 3, but you're not using 8 to 12 programs at one given call or anything like that.
That's correct. Yeah. It's basically the CAD system that's used the most. But yeah, you're right. It's there's 8 screens, and that just gives more real estate for the dispatcher to work on what they're working on when they're fielding through a call. So
well, and I tell you what, it's interesting because I was kind of surprised when going through the process of becoming a dispatcher. I was surprised, Tony, at how quickly the training happens. It's really I guess in my mind, I thought it would be, take your time, really get your feet under you, that sort of thing. But it's a pretty quick process, if I do say so myself. Is that fair, you think?
Yeah, that is fair.
Okay.
It's mainly, given the person and how well they're grasping what they're being trained on. It's basically about a 3-month training period, but there's a lot of stuff that we have to hit to train on. So you're right. We have to hit it and move on, and that's basically what we do. And there's times where we might have to backtrack a little bit, and catch up, like. We hit on certain topics in 1 week, and then we move on the next week. But in a couple weeks later, we might back up and hit on those topics again. But yeah, it's fast paced, and because there's so much that has to be learned. But I even tell the new dispatcher that some during the training process, we cannot hit on every certain call that could be handled in the 911 center.
Right.
You just have to do your best. And even a senior dispatcher at times are going to take calls that they've never had before, and they just have to count on their training on a different type of call and just move forward with that. Yeah.
Again, Tony Harris, director of CENCOM, our guest, DeWitt County CENCOM, that is, our guest in studio, our guest on the phone, I guess I should say, here for this morning. And, you talk about that, Tony, the amount of people that come through and try their hand at being a dispatcher, and some it sticks and some it doesn't. I venture a guess that makes it hard to recruit because, you may have and you're a very veteran individual in this field and recruiting and training and all of those things. You would think you would have a good feel for, this type of person would be just ideal for it. And then they try it out and it's not for them or something of that nature. I venture a guess that makes it hard to maybe pinpoint people to try to bring in for this job.
It does. Early on in my career, I thought that that person might do well in this position, and it is. It just, I mean, because you really don't know people, and you don't really know how how they learn or anything like that. And then when they they come in, and well, like the last person that we hired. She picked up real well, and she basically after 2 months of her training process, she was ready to go on her own. I mean, she picked up very, very well, and you just really have no idea how well they are going to pick up on what they're being taught, and it is what it is, and that is a difficult thing, is trying to pick the right person to do the job.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, Tony, as we catch up here for this morning, anything else on the work of a 911 dispatcher, what it takes, anything of that nature that comes to mind for you, we haven't touched on yet that you want to put out there for us?
Well, I think the biggest thing when I talk about, experience, we don't require a lot of previous experience, really none. We do the training, like I said, in-house. But I think the most important thing is knowing how to multitask and be computer literate, where you know how to navigate through different software programs, because of the many that I mentioned earlier that we use at, at any given time. So I think those a vast knowledge of computer stuff, and knowing how to multitask. And when I say knowing how to multitask, basically knowing what that is, and how to do a couple things at once. Because as you're doing quite a bit of things at once when you're handling a call. You're talking to the complainant when you're taking a call. You're also talking to law enforcement, fire, and EMS, or maybe all three disciplines, depending on the type of call that it is. Law enforcement gets all three of, or I'm sorry, an accident scene gets all three. You get law enforcement, medical, and fire. So, you're talking to the complainant, and you're also talking to three disciplines to get help out there. So, um, again, that's a training thing, but that's
Mhm.
also multitasking. That's very important, to be able to multitask, and be
Mhm.
able to have a little bit of a knowledge on multitasking, and what it takes to be a dispatcher.
Is there an opportunity, Tony, for maybe someone interested, but they don't, again, this conversation is not trying to scare people away. In fact, it's trying to, in fact, trying to do the very opposite, bring people in into the field and apply and just basically give it your all and try it out. But is there an opportunity to sit in with a dispatcher and watch and maybe get have a conversation as they go through, maybe a 2 or 3 hour period of their day, and get a feel for what's going on, and just get a glimpse into it? Is there an opportunity for that for folks that may be interested?
Absolutely, yeah. Job shadowing, we do that quite frequently. Bring someone in that I've taken calls. I'm not sure this is for me. Is there any way that I could talk to you about it? And they'll come in and talk to me, and I'll tell them a little bit about the job, and then I offer it up. Would you like to come in and job shadow one evening or one day? And some people do that. They take me up on that offer, and they just basically sit in behind the dispatcher and see what it's all about. Now, there is a lot of downtime. I
Hmm.
talk a lot about the different screens, the multitasking. That's kind of that could be the bad part of the job shadowing, is when you come in, it could be a day or a night where there's not a whole lot going on, where they're just basically doing basic job tasks,
Hmm.
and they don't get a real good sense of the job. But then again, when you're job shadowing, that one call could hit where they do get a good sense of what a 911 dispatcher does on a call. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
yes, absolutely, they can contact me, and they can have a sit down talk with me. I can tell them a little bit more about the job, or they can come in and do a job shadow.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak too out of school, Tony, but I would say, because I remember doing I think I did like a week of overnights,
Yeah,
and I would say, like, if you really want to get a feel for it, it's not hectic, but there's a lot happening. Like maybe 7 to 10. Like if you've got that 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock time, where you can maybe stop in, and watch in that time frame. I think that would be a good opportunity for people to get a feel for kind of again, not chaotic, but there's a lot just that happens from about 7 to 10, I would say. And I remember
That's
that.
correct.
Yeah, I remember that was kind of what was really eye opening for me, at least in that process. But anyways, yeah, and not to like sound too pompous or anything, but like just because I can't do it doesn't mean someone else can't. In fact, I would say that's probably a good omen that I can do it, but somebody else can. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, anyways, Tony, how do folks talk to you about this opportunity?
They can contact me through the Clinton Police Department or the DeWitt County Sheriff's Department. The dispatchers answer those two law enforcement phone calls and just ask for me, Tony Harris, and they will direct that phone call to me. Or if I'm not available, they can leave a message on my voicemail.
Very good. Well, Tony, let's take a time out here, my friend. Come back with some more. Tony Harris, director of the DeWitt County CENCOM, my guest on the phone. More to come with him on the morning show.
WHOW.
Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn slightly lower, beans steady, and wheat trading double-digit lower. March corn down 1 1/4, 651 1/2. May corn down 1 3/4, 651 1/4. July corn 645 down 2 1/4. January beans up 2, 1505 1/2. March beans up 1. 1489 1/2. May beans down 1/2 penny, 1493. March Chicago wheat 724 down 17 1/2. May wheat down 17 1/4, 732 3/4. March bean meal 473.20 up 290. March bean oil 63.20 down 15 cents. Livestock market January feeders 184.55 up 92 cents. February live cattle 158.62 up 87 cents. February lean hogs 79.97 down 82 cents. Energy market, February crude oil 75.02 up 39 cents. I'm Jim Taylor.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month. And get a free Roku 4-lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
Scott Baum here from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. Search our big selection of pre-owned cars and trucks by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Dr. Bradley Grant here from Mid-State Eye in Clinton. Many insurance plans will have benefits that renewed on January 1st. If you've been waiting until the new year, click Mid-State Eye icon on DeWittDailyNews.com to make your appointment today.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHW Morning Show is streaming to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Tony Harris, director of DeWitt County CENCOM, is my guest on the phone for today. And Tony, we went over, kind of the ins and outs of being a dispatcher and looking for dispatchers, and we'll re-highlight that talking point before I let you go here for the morning. But as you mentioned, and I've mentioned to folks before, I did try my hand at being a dispatcher at one point, and one of the largely common things we dealt with often, besides general things like traffic stops and running identities on people that are in communication with law enforcement, was accidental and hang up 911 calls. From your perspective, what do you have there for us today? What's kind of becoming? What are you noticing about these calls as we talk today?
Well, with the advancement of devices, any device where you can make a call on, the most common would be a cell phone. The advancements of those cell phones, they have, depending on the type of phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, those type of things, they have like special buttons, or even like a volume button. If you hit that, I think it's the iPhone, that if you hit the volume up button or down one of those buttons, like 2 times in a row, it automatically dials 911. And most people don't know that. So, if they're sitting on their phone and they hit that button, it automatically dials 911. And they might pick their phone up and see it's called 911 and hang up real quick, and or if the dispatcher answers, says 911, where's your emergency, and they just hang up the phone. Well, that's the worst thing that they can do, and that's basically what I wanted to point out. If you find yourself in a situation where you accidentally call 911 or your phone does, just stay on the phone until the dispatcher is able to talk to you. We're not going to charge you for anything like that, or we're not going to scold you for doing that, but we do need to make sure that this, that your call is non-emergency, that it was just an accidental dial. Because we find ourselves chasing those type of calls. When I say chasing those calls, we follow up on those calls until we make contact with someone, and we go through a lot of extreme measures sometimes to make contact with the person that called. Basically, because we don't know what that call is. It could be a domestic situation, it could be a life or death situation. We don't know what it is, and we're gonna chase that call until we can find out exactly what it is, and that it's non-emergency. And it wastes a lot of time for the dispatcher when they're doing that.
I was just going to say that's kind of the biggest thing is, even if it's an accidental thing, you stay on the line, you say, I'm sorry, didn't mean to call 911, and they'll probably go through a few things to confirm that it's not an emergency and you're not in, distress or anything like that. But it takes less time to stay on the line and go through a few things with the dispatcher than to make them chase down that call if you hang up.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So very good. Well, and with those calls, Tony, what's interesting about some of those is you'll get, like a pocket dial or something in that nature. And it happens. So anything else on hang up 911s, accidental 911 calls that we didn't touch on, you want to put out there for us today?
Just basically, like I said, just stay on the call, stay on the phone with the dispatcher until they're able to speak with them. And then, you hit the nail on the head. We're gonna ask a few questions just to make sure, that we're dealing with a true non-emergency call. There have been times where someone, on the phone said that, no, I don't need you, this is non-emergency. But then again, it turned out to be emergency, but there was someone with them that was coaching them what to say. So, we're going to ask a series of questions just to 99% of the time they are going to be an actual hang-up call.
Right.
And no assistance is needed.
Sure.
But just stay on the call until we tell them that they can disconnect.
Well, Tony, a minute here real fast. Again, highlight your need for dispatchers. Where do folks go to learn about this opportunity? What do they need to do?
They can contact me at the Clinton Police Department, the DeWitt County Sheriff's Office. They can message us on the DeWitt County 911 Facebook page, or they can just stop by the Sheriff's Department and pick up an application and get it filled out, get it back in here, and we will contact them.
Is CENCOM on Facebook, Tony?
It is on Facebook. It's DeWitt County CENCOM of DeWitt County.
All right, very good. So follow there. Tony, and again, is the best number to reach CENCOM just for general questions or non-emergency related issues? What's the best number for that?
217-935-3196.
Tony, always good to talk to you, sir. Thanks for making time for us today.
Thank you, Seth.
Tony Harris, director of the DeWitt County CENCOM, our guest on the phone here for today. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance.
WHOW.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM, W2